Welcome to Monday's Morbid Minute. This is your quick rundown of the week's most fascinating stories involving death, disease, medicine, and injury, making headlines and rippling through the pop culture. We'll tease the cases here, then do a deep dive into the pathology, forensics, and medical mysteries later in our normal Mother Knows Death episodes, in articles over in the Gross Room, and during our weekly YouTube live bonus episode exclusively for Gross Room members. If it's dark, disturbing, medically bizarre, or just too good not to dissect, you'll hear it first on Monday's Morbid Minute. In true crime and court cases, an Orange County family is defending their 17-year-old son after his home chemistry experiments triggered a major hazmat response and an FBI terrorism investigation. Authorities responded to the Irvine home after concerns were raised about chemicals and a makeshift laboratory inside of the house. Federal hazmat teams and investigators examined the materials to determine whether they pose a danger. The teen and his family say the situation was a misunderstanding, explaining he was experimenting with complex molecules related to cancer research and had no malicious intent. No charges have been filed as the investigation continues. Former Louisiana Mayor Misty Roberts, 43 years old, has been convicted of indecent behavior with a juvenile after prosecutors said she had sex with one of her teenage son's friends during a 2024 alcohol-fueled pool party at her home. The verdict came after several days of testimony from the victim, teenagers who attended the party, and members of her own family. Prosecutors introduced evidence that Plan B emergency contraceptive was ordered to the house through DoorDash after the alleged encounter. She now faces up to 17 years in prison. A North Carolina mother is warning other parents after surveillance video captured a DoorDash driver making disturbing comments to her 12-year-old son. According to the report, the driver ignored the delivery instructions that said to leave the food at the door, waited for someone to answer, then told the boy he was, quote, beautiful and asked if he was, quote, taken. The child's mother, Andrea Frazier, posted the footage publicly and said she immediately felt the interaction was predatory. People quickly identified the man, and public records indicate he was a registered sex offender who was convicted in 2025 of sexual battery involving an adult woman and must remain on North Carolina's sex offender registry for 10 years. Frazier also said that DoorDash told her the account used for the delivery was registered to a woman, not the sex offender, raising additional concerns about who was actually completing the delivery. DoorDash has reportedly opened an internal investigation, and the mother has contacted law enforcement. As of the latest report, no new criminal charges have been announced. Police in Southwest Philadelphia say an 11-year-old boy shot and killed his mother's boyfriend during an altercation between the adults inside of the home. Investigators believe the child intervened while the couple was arguing. Authorities are now reviewing the circumstances surrounding the shooting, including how the child accessed the firearm and whether the act was self-defense. A 37-year-old Ohio man has been indicted after prosecutors say he sexually assaulted a 6-year-old girl inside of a family bathroom at a Five Below store. He is charged with rape, kidnapping, abduction, and gross sexual imposition, and prosecutors added a sexual violent predatory specification because of his prior record. According to investigators, the girl's mother had stepped only 30 to 40 feet away to get clean clothes after the child had an accident. Before leaving the bathroom, she locked the door and told her daughter to open it only if she heard a specific safety knock. Prosecutors say that he overheard that instruction, copied the knock, got the child to unlock the door, and then sexually assaulted her in the restroom. The girl screamed, which prosecutors say interrupted the attack and caused him to run. Deputies later found him at a relative's house about a mile away. The case drew even more outrage because he had reportedly been released from prison just 3 days earlier and had a prior conviction involving a child under 13. He is being held on $1 million bond. A 40-year-old Georgia high school teacher has died after a late-night prank at his home turned tragic. Authorities say 5 18-year-olds went to his house and toilet papered his trees as part of a prom season prank. When he came outside to confront them, the teens got into 2 vehicles and began trying to leave. As the teacher moved towards the street, investigators say he tripped, fell into the roadway, and was run over by a pickup truck driven by one of the teens. Authorities say the group stopped after the collision and tried to help the teacher until first responders arrived, but he later died at the hospital. The teen who was driving has been charged with first-degree vehicular homicide, reckless driving, criminal trespassing, and littering, while the other 4 teens were charged with trespassing and littering. A civil lawsuit in Los Angeles County alleges that a 59-year-old substitute teacher named Felicia Boyd gave 3 brothers, ages 8 to 11, cannabis-infused gummies during an after-school program, allegedly to, quote, celebrate the youngest child's birthday. After eating the gummies, the boys reportedly became ill, lethargic, and disoriented, and were taken to the emergency room for suspected cannabis poisoning. The lawsuit says the children were given dragon fruit-flavored nano gummies containing THC, the psychoactive compound in cannabis. The boy's guardian is suing Boyd, the school, and the district, alleging negligence, improper supervision, and failure in hiring and training. The complaint also claims that school personnel, including the principal, teachers, and a nurse, were informed after the incident. A horrifying homicide investigation is underway in Cleveland after the bodies of 2 young girls were found stuffed inside of suitcases in a field near a school. The discovery was made by a dog walker whose pet alerted him to the partially buried luggage. Police later determined the victims were half-sisters between roughly 8 and 14 years old, and their mother has since been arrested on aggravated murder charges. Authorities are still working to determine the cause of death. In pop culture and celebrity news, the biggest story this week is Britney Spears was arrested in Ventura County on March 4th on suspicion of driving while under the influence, or a DUI, after California Highway Patrol officers responded to reports of a black BMW speeding and weaving between lanes. She was the only person in the car. Officers reported signs of impairment, conducting field sobriety testing, and later took her for a blood draw to determine whether alcohol, drugs, or both were involved. The Ventura County District Attorney is still awaiting toxicology results before deciding whether to charge her. The family of 25-year-old Deadliest Catch deckhand Todd Meadows is asking Discovery Channel not to air any footage of the accident that killed him. Meadows died on February 25th while filming the show aboard a crab boat after falling overboard into the Bering Sea about 170 miles north of Dutch Harbor, Alaska. Crew members pulled him from the water roughly 10 minutes later and attempted CPR and defibrillation, but he could not be revived. His mother says broadcasting the incident would be devastating for the family and has asked producers to only show positive footage of her son working on the boat. Meadows leaves behind 3 young sons. Nicole Kidman has revealed in a recent interview that she actually learned how to perform an autopsy while preparing for a role. The actress said that training involved observing real forensic procedures so she could accurately portray the work of medical examiners on screen. While actors frequently consult with medical professionals, Kidman said that the experience gave her a deeper appreciation for the scientific and emotional complexity involved in post-mortem examinations. Rock legend Billy Idol shocked fans by admitting that he turned to crack cocaine in the 1980s as a way to stop using heroin. In a recent interview, Idol said that when trying to quit heroin, he switched to crack, adding bluntly that, quote, "it worked." The 70-year-old musician discussed the chaotic drug culture surrounding rock music at the time and said several near-fatal events, including overdoses and a motorcycle crash, eventually pushed him to change his life. Idol now describes himself as mostly sober and says he has avoided hard drugs for decades. Newly released body cam footage shows the immediate aftermath of the killing of Ashley Flynn, 37 years old, the wife of former American Idol contestant Caleb Flynn, inside of their home in Ohio. In the footage, Caleb is seen and heard crying, hyperventilating, vomiting, and repeatedly asking officers if Ashley was gone. At one point, he calls his mother sobbing, saying, quote, "Ashley's dead," and, quote, "Mommy, she's gone." Then, 3 days later, investigators arrested him and charged him with her murder. In medicine and health news, a new Android app called Nearby Glasses is getting attention because it alerts users when Bluetooth-enabled smart glasses, including Meta and Snap devices, are nearby. The idea is to warn people that they may be around wearable cameras even when the glasses look ordinary. The developer says he built it as a response to rising concerns about covert recording, though the app can produce false positives. That story lands at the same time Meta is facing fresh privacy scrutiny after reports that data workers reviewed sensitive footage captured by AI glasses, including people undressing, using the bathroom, and sharing other intimate moments. Meta says media stays on devices unless shared, and that review systems are meant to improve the product, but a proposed class action suit is now challenging those privacy claims. A longtime math teacher in San Francisco was placed on leave after parents and students raised concerns about quiz questions described as sexist and fat-shaming. Reported examples included questions about giving candy to a, quote, fat kid and calculating dating costs based on a girl's weight. The district says it's investigating. A middle school 8th grade history teacher was placed on leave after a student recorded a video showing him urinating in a container inside his classroom between class periods. The video reportedly shows him unbuttoning his pants, relieving himself into a container just off camera, then dumping the liquid out moments before students came back into the room. According to reports, as he buttoned his pants and tucked in his shirt, he could be heard saying, quote, "Gosh, that's good," followed by, quote, love it," before dumping out the liquid. Families were later notified that an employee had been placed on leave while the district investigated. A New Jersey Girl Scout troop drew backlash after selling cookies outside of a cannabis store in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Supporters call it clever fundraising. Critics called it inappropriate, and a planned follow-up sale was later canceled after the attention exploded. An Ohio woman, Rachel Tusi, who documented her cosmetic surgery journey on TikTok, suffered catastrophic complications after a mommy makeover surgery. Reporting says that she became unresponsive after surgery, was without oxygen for more than 6 minutes, and was later declared brain dead. Her family has retained legal counsel and is seeking answers. Australian biotech company Cortical Labs says that it has now trained about 200,000 living human neurons growing on a silicone chip to play the video game Doom. The setup works by translating parts of the game into electrical stimulation patterns that are fed to the neurons, then converting the cell's response into game actions like moving and shooting. Cortical Labs said the neurons are not, quote, seeing the game a way a human player would, but they are adapting in real time to pattern feedback in a way the company argues demonstrates basic learning behavior. Outside coverage notes that the gameplay is still primitive, but the cells can perform simple actions and appear to improve with repetition. This, of course, is also raising ethical concerns. In freak accidents and unexpected deaths, a man died near the Los Angeles Convention Center in downtown Los Angeles after what police described was an act of self-mutilation. TMZ reported the man had cut off his own penis, stabbed himself, and may have tried to sever his own arm. It is unknown whether intoxication or psychiatric crisis was involved. In our last story, a Colorado man, Jerry Goldberg, who had been petitioning for a traffic light after his wife was killed at a dangerous intersection, died in a crash at the same intersection 2 years later. he was on his way to lunch when he was killed there. The city says the traffic light proposal is still under review. And that's it for this week's Monday's Morbid Minute. For full breakdowns of these stories, plus any breaking news that develops, be sure to tune in to this week's regular Mother Knows Death podcast and check out The Gross Room. Don't forget to subscribe to us on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. And while you're there, leave us a review. We would love to hear what you have to say. If you see a story you want us to cover or have questions or comments, email us at stories@motherknowsdeath.com. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.